start again.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. So this week, doing gardening, and you were going to say about comments.
Yes. So if you guys have questions about gardening in your zone, maybe you haven't gardened a ton in the past, what tips, would be good for gardening, all of that kind of stuff, drop those in the comments so we can either answer them while we're chatting or we can go through, in the next day or two and actually answer those for you, or point you in a good direction of where to look.
Now, again, we don't pretend to be experts. We're just kind of sharing the way we do things, the way we look at things. There's plenty of stuff online that you can look up for yourself. We're just kind of just saying, hey, this is the direction we're going. Just if you're wanting to get into it or you're wanting to polish up some of the things that you're working on, that's all this is for.
Yes. And, while we have gardened, I think pretty much the whole time that we've been married, we've had a garden to some degree. And of course, there have been seasons where our gardens have been bigger and then seasons that have been more full that our gardens have, tiny. And we also have gardened out on the West Coast in Washington State, and then we've gardened in the Midwest. Down south, we're not really we're not experts on that.
Yeah,
we've never lived in the South.
We don't know all the zones, different things for that things. So one of the things, I mean, since you brought it up, we can talk about that. When you're looking at what you're going to garden, do pay attention to what zone you're in, especially when it comes to perennials. Those are the big ones. Most of your garden, like vegetable garden ones, the annuals, which don't come back annually. The annuals, they're a lot more forgiving because most of the zones are set up by how cold your winters get. So when we start talking about perennials, you will have to pay attention to your zone there. So when it comes to gardening and picking seeds, So the way we work it is that we have the stuff that we eat a lot as a family, and then we also pick some other things.
Can I just interrupt you for a second? Because what happens if I don't know what zone I'm in? How do I find that out?
That's a great question. I think we looked it up, and I tried looking it up the other day, and it had all kinds of weird zones. Normally, like zone 1 is like Alaska, and zone 10 is like tropical. But I couldn't find that on, I'd done a little lookup on my phone. I couldn't quite find it. So I'm not exactly sure where to get that. I know the Pacific Northwest is a zone 8 and northern Iowa is a zone 4. And then, if you're in Iowa, Highway 80, give or take, drops it up to a zone 5. So that I know those two areas right there, but I'm not quite sure where to find that. It might be in the book.
Okay.
So this one here, edible landscaping is what it's called. We'll talk about that when we get into perennials, though. But first we were going to talk about the gardening, picking seeds. So we go through and we just kind of pick the ones that we like eating. So and I mean they don't have to be crazy. Green beans. We like having some sweet corn when those come in. Tomatoes. I love snap peas.
Yes.
So those are the ones that they actually are one of the first to produce. And so I love going out there and just picking them right off the vine and snacking on those. Not many make them inside in our house. So, but they're a great snack for me.
Yes. And the other thing that we do too is like, like we've started planting some, like Dave said, we're going to start talking about some perennials a little bit later, but really take into account, what you're going to be willing to prepare in the fall or preserve.
Yep.
Tomatoes. I mean, you can can tomatoes. You can make salsa with tomatoes. You can freeze tomatoes. Just cut them in half and stick them on a cookie sheet. Let them freeze and then put them in a Ziploc bag. That is so easy. The other tip for green beans that one of my aunts actually did, she picks them straight from the garden right into a Ziploc bag. Like she's out in the garden with her Ziploc bag, picking her green beans right into the bag. unwashed, unstem, you know, she doesn't take the stems off or
No.
anything. That way, when she pulls them out of the freezer, she washes them, stems them, and generally, when you're ready to use them is not harvest season. And let me tell you, raise your hand if you have been overwhelmed in harvest season because of all the great things you planted that you are like so excited, and then you get to harvest season and you're like, I have 85 zillion tomatoes and all this zucchini and all these green beans, you know, and so you feel overwhelmed because you have, you know, cucumbers to make into pickles and all of that kind of stuff. And
applesauce and
yeah, you're doing all of those things. And so the tips or things like that that we can do to kind of help ourselves during harvest season is also really awesome.
Yep. Pickings, when looking to buy your seeds, and this is something that we're just starting, so we don't have a lot of experience with it, but we're wanting to do is we're this year we want to go with all heirloom seeds. So not the hybrid seeds. So the hybrid seeds, a lot of those, and part of it too is that we're looking at what's kind of going on in society, food shortages, all that type of stuff. In the coming years, it might even be tricky to find seeds to purchase. So, you know, in several years down the line, so we're actually this year we're working on also saving seeds for the following year. So your heirloom seeds, those are the ones that you can do. They're non-GMO, so they're still they haven't been messed with the DNA. They're gonna be better for you as far as nutrition. And again, it also assumes that your ground isn't depleted of nutrients as well. A lot of your hybrid seeds that you buy, they're good for one shot. After that, they don't. You can't save seeds and replant again. So we are shooting for the heirloom seeds. And then of course be cautious on where the seeds come from. If they're coming from overseas, to the west of us, that might be an issue. Because you know there's some meddling in food supplies when it comes to that area of the world.
Yes, that was a lot of coded.
Yep.
Speech.
If you follow me, great. If not, stick with the heirloom seeds from out here. Let's see, ARK. What is it? Heirloom seed kits is what we're looking to get, and they just have like two basic kits. They got one with 50,000 seeds and one with 20,000 seeds for $99 and then $300. So it's heirloomseedkits.com. It's ARK seeds company.
And we can put some of that in the comments too, just so that like put a link in there, so that way if you guys are curious, you want to do your own research, like we always are like super encouraging, do your own research, figure out what company you want to order from, or what you know, source that you trust, that kind of thing.
Yep. And I know if you're on YouTube, I'll probably forget when I'm uploading this, so put it in a comment if you want me to put the link on there. Because like I said, I'll probably forget. So and then of course when you're looking at so we got harvesting and all that type of stuff, most of that stuff is really easy to find online. You know, how do I know that my carrots are done? How do I know that my artichokes are done? Whatever you're doing. But also saving seeds. Now I have very little knowledge on this. This isn't something that we've done before. I don't know how to harvest carrot seeds. So that's stuff that we're going to be looking into as well. But just kind of putting it on your radar. You know, save the biggest carrot for the ones that you want the seeds from.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and also, you know, certain things there's a certain process that is required for them to germinate well the next season. And so like certain seeds require what's called like cold, I don't know, some kind of like cold storage something. So the seed has to actually drop below a certain temperature during the off season, so it needs to experience like winter. And then when you bring it back into germination and all of that kind of stuff, it needs to be obviously warm enough and all of those kinds of things. But it really shows us like how the Lord set these things, like how he created these things to function this way. And so when we're trying to mimic nature, we need to really be mindful of like God set this in motion this exact way. So,
yeah. And the other thing with the seeds too, and I'll just put a quick thing in here. You know, if the money were to become worthless or whatever, you know, you can trade in seeds as well. So that's another way. I know some people, you know, they're well, I'm gonna have, you know, rice, or I'm gonna have hunting equipment. You know, that type of stuff that I'm going to trade in. Some people are, you know, saving up gold and silver and that type of stuff. But seeds could be another way for bartering, you know, in case the dollar were to actually drop. Want to switch over to perennials or?
Totally, yes.
Yes. So so with perennials, these are the ones that come back year after year. You plant them once, and they just keep growing, and every year you get something. Hopefully, yeah. So most of our perennials that we have are like herbs and seasonings. Is it just called herbs?
It's just herbs.
Just herbs. You turn herbs into seasonings, apparently.
Yeah, seasonings are medicine.
Yep. Oh, that's true. That's good stuff too. Yeah, look that stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's zone related as well. So you got to know what zone, because if they get too cold over the wintertime, they won't come back the next year. Some of them you can kind of fake it a little bit, you know, put foam over the top. Some of them, they die all the way out, but the roots don't get cold enough, and so you get a fresh sprout every year, even though the main stem dies off. So depending on the zone and the plant and that type of stuff. So I'll just bring the book out again. Edible Landscaping is one of the ones that we've looked at. and it has a bunch of ideas based off of your zone that you could use. I know we've got some ideas off of that. Doing the rows and I forget to write a list of all the ones.
Well, and it's helpful for so many different reasons, because, you know, I love the title, Edible Landscaping. We want a landscape that looks appealing, but there's a real draw for us, especially, just to have plants that are going to be productive. Right. So you can have pretty and productive, or something that's appealing and productive, both at the same time. And so, you know, just like with last week, we're talking about chickens or rabbits or those types of things. You know, you can raise chickens, utilize the eggs for them, you know, from them for the years that they're laying eggs really well. And then when they're done, you can use them as stew hens. And so those things that have that purpose outside of just being pretty is super appealing to us. And so we got a lot of ideas for new plants that we could put in.
Ones we'd never thought of. Jerusalem artichoke, hops.
Yes. Yeah, and just different ways that we can utilize those plants. Apparently, when hops shoots are small in the spring, they taste very much like asparagus. And so, I mean, I don't think we're going to be brewing any beer at any time soon. But I'm like, hey, if we can figure out a way to use this, and apparently they're very vigorous growers. And so if we can use it to, you know, help feed our family in a healthy way.
Yeah, the other one we tried was rose hips, but they didn't make it, so.
Well, the one I kind of got my fingers crossed.
Okay,
it may be false hope.
Yeah, but, you know, blueberry bushes and, what was the other one?
Aronia berries. So we planted blueberries and aronia berries out front of our house. So they're a shrub that will be flowering, deciduous shrub that will be flowering. Now, the rabbits this winter were quite snackish.
These are the wild ones, not ours.
Yes, not our rabbits, the wild rabbits. Anyways, and so they got in there and just chewed the bottoms. So I'm hoping that they come back. We also planted goji berries, which goji berries are can be very invasive, and they're also very thorny. And so, you know, be mindful. You know, you do need to do research into what you're planting and be mindful of where it's going and how it will be used and all that kind of stuff.
And then planting your fruit trees or shrubs. Because I know they got a plum bush out there that's zone 4 as well, so that's one that we were looking at getting. So, but those are some ideas that we had as far as, you know, getting ready for what might be coming years down the line, and then just what we're looking at doing. And with our herbs and stuff, we just the flower beds. we're just putting them in the flower beds along the side of the house, and so that way, you know, the people that lived here before us, you know, they had most flowers in the flower bed, so we're just kind of working our way through. Our recommendation and what we did is we just picked 5. Just pick 5 new plants that you want to try out this year and try them out. With any of this stuff, there is a learning curve. When you go to saving seeds, there's going to be a learning curve. So part of it is just practice and just finding stuff that you like and things that work good for you. I know there was one year that we planted just a ton. We just got a bunch of pickling cucumbers. Yeah, they didn't all get used. So we went ahead and dialed back the amount of pickling cucumbers we planted and replaced them with squash or something else. So
yes. And also too, you know, thinking about things that you can harvest that will store really well in like a basement or a root cellar. Squash is a great example because squash generally keeps very, very well. And so if you're a person that loves squash or that type of thing, we've got an incredible sausage squash soup recipe. Let me know if you want that.
And it's a good chance to try out some
Yep.
some recipes you didn't think about trying out. You know, plant this, that, the other things, see how they worked out, see if it was what you expected. And when you harvest it, it's all like, geez, I don't know what to do with this. I got some spaghetti squash here. What am I supposed to do with that? Well, hop online. There's spaghetti recipes for spaghetti squash.
Yes. Well, and the other thing too, you know, maybe if this is like your first year gardening, maybe start with starts instead of seeds. Sometimes that can give you a little jump on, you know, the gardening game, because starting from seeds, you know, if they're not planted direct, what's called direct sow, so that's directly into the soil when your garden soil has warmed to the proper temperature. So if you have to start inside and then transplant, that can be also learning curve. So if you start with sprouts or already started, you know, starts, you can kind of jump ahead and maybe hopefully be a little bit more successful. One place that we love to get our garden starts from is Azure Standard. We love to get a lot of things from Azure Standard, but they also have garden starts in the spring. Actually, they're non-GMO, heirloom, I believe, and they are very reasonably priced. And if your plants get crunched or damaged in shipment, they've always been really good to either refund money or send new plants next time or that type of thing. So check out Azure Standard.
All right. So as usual, if you got any questions, comments, concerns, you can drop them in the comments. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe, right?
I don't know. Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.